Hello and welcome to the show. You're on Soulstar Radio. I'm Jacquelene Close-Moore, coming to you live from my little space in South Yarra. I'm in my little room that I work from and consult clients and have a great time, kind of chilling out and relaxing sometimes. So today I'm running through the second of the two shows relating to chakras or chakra. Depending on how you feel like saying that, so that if you're working with energy and you're learning to work with your senses and the different energy centers in your body, or you're learning how to read auras, it's actually quite helpful to know about your chakras. So the aura colors, as I was saying last week, the aura colors that you're seeing around someone will actually relate to the chakras, and how they're acting, how active or inactive they are in that person's being. And those chakras activity levels will also relate to the areas of the person's life and what those chakras govern, and even to do with the health of the different organs that they're connected to along the endocrine system as well. So those chakras actually have a lot of use when we're working with healing. You can sort of clear and energize the chakras as you're going along. A lot of breath work in tantric practices relates to the chakras, and Kundalini yoga, which, same sort of principles, working with the chakras as well and the energy centers and raising the energy. So an understanding of that helps you read auras better, because as the chakras are functioning, that will determine the colours in the aura. As a person's living their life will determine the chakras in the aura, and vice versa. So, sometimes I've been at psychic expos and I've gone a bit like that. I could be looking at their aura and seeing how much cigarette smoke. It's like a lot of that. I remember seeing a particular really interesting medium, actually, and she sat in my auntie's class as a visiting medium one time, and she had all this brown around here, and I don't think that was fertilised speech, if you know what I mean. I don't think she was talking that stuff, BS, which can look like that colour, but she actually was quite a straight speaker. But what she was doing is a lot of cigarettes, and so we're seeing the brown in the aura, and you're going, chain smoker. All right, fair enough. Surprisingly, she was very healthy, as some people seem to be blessed with good health despite such things. But it can be quite interesting to look at that. And, so I was talking last week, we talked about the base chakra right up through to the heart chakra. So just recapping on that, our base chakra is our groundedness. It's fight or flight, it's passion, lifeblood, energy, Shakti, which is fire. And, of course, red on the colour wheel. The opposite colour is green. Green is where the heart is. That's that green of the forests, of wide open fields, of being able to breathe, and that sense of feeling your feelings and being able to see the forest for the trees, which sometimes people can get very confused when they're trying to think their emotions. So that's that green. There's a lot of expression. So it's about opening up of that heart energy that we find in green. And there's nothing quite like being in the forest and smelling the dew on the moss, or the ferns and, even the eucalyptus leaves and things like that. Like in Australia, we have eucalyptus. And so it's a real, that's beautiful. So, it can be very energizing to that sense of expression, that sense of feeling, to be going out into those natural environments, which is why, we get a lot of recharge from going into the forest, or, even things like going to the beach and the sea and watching the waves roll in. And that's where we bring in water and we bring in, that sense of blue. And so when we move from the heart chakra, we move up into that throat chakra, we're getting that colour of blue. So when you're looking at that and you're looking at the throat, you're looking at the communication, the expression, the sense of integrity, authority, being able to speak the truth, being able to speak your true feelings. So you'll see behind me there's actually turquoise, aqua, sort of light blue-ish, I've got cushions in that, and behind me beneath that is actually a cobalt blue rug. So in my shop I actually have that magenta colour. I'll show you. I thought I'd show you one day the shop a bit. There it is. So you can see that magenta over there. There it goes. Woo! Ah, wrong way. Look at that. This is making you dizzy, is it? So I'll use magenta. I use royal purple. And it's royal because back in the day, only royal people could use that colour. Usually on funeral stuff, and we'll get to that. But that blue, cobalt blue, and the turquoise, they're colours that I'll actually use in my work a lot. So when we're looking at cobalt blue, we're looking at that, the light around the outside of the full moon. Sometimes you'll see a rainbow. Sometimes you'll see that cobalt blue around the moon, and it's, there's that calming breath. So if you're a very yang person, you're very direct and, fixing a lot of things, going to a bit of autopilot when there's a bit of chaos. And, that's where at the end of the night, when everyone else is tucked away safely in bed and they're all rested and relaxed, and you've just been saving the world, that's where that royal blue is really great for that calming and being able to just let the stress down. And a lot of people who will relate to that really deep cobalt blue will be very, I am my own authority, thank you. It's a sort of a, So there can be a defensiveness if someone is trying to tell you what you did wrong when you did that, because probably you've already kicked your backside that many times that, by the time someone else is coming along and joining that party, there's a bit of, I've already told myself off, how dare you? So in that cobalt blue is a need to not take things quite so seriously all the time. Certainly take things seriously, but not all the time. And certainly maybe work on solutions rather than just telling yourself off, So if something happens, it's not quite what you expected, you didn't quite do what you wanted to achieve, the thing to do is going to, all right, well, that's what's happened, can't change it. I'm going to now shift the energy into fixing that, and then prevention. So how do I prevent this from happening again? What can I do differently? And then if it's in a work situation, go straight up to the boss. Say, look, by the way, really sorry. This is what happened. I recognise that's wrong. This is what I've done to fix it. And this is what I'm doing. This is my action plan to stop this from happening again. And then the boss is probably going to stay bewildered. Going to get one or two reactions, both of them fairly positive, one a bit more terse than the other, that may involve just make sure it doesn't happen again. But they're not going to be on banging at you with the whole, why didn't you this, mirroring your own self-punishment, because you're not punishing yourself anymore. And in that blue can be the self-judgment of that inner critic. Blue is the throat chakra, it's communication, it's clear audience, and that's clear hearing. And it's that automatic channel, it's automatic writing. But in that blue can be that critical over-criticism of self, and so you have to work on in that energy on calming that farm, which, blue is cooling, it's calming, but it's about also, all right, what action can we take to, clear what's happened here? How do I improve this for next time? And taking that action a lot quicker just helps on with things a lot quicker and provide the solutions so that you're not getting stuck in that. So, it's really good to, to work on reducing resistance, to work on reducing need for defensiveness when you've got a lot of blue or you really, really love the cobalt blue, but also to work on making sure you're not running adrenaline when things are not quite working out. Cobalt blue comes in. When it loves that colour, we get into that blue, and that's where we get that real sense of peace and calm, and that's where we can get the colour of transition as well. So there's the ability to go higher and transcend in our communications, but also there's the ability in that blue, to find the real sort of sense of being able to communicate calmly and get your idea across nicely. So, it's really good to be able to, work on as much as possible the real calming. in that energy, and to communicate clearly what it is you're trying to get across, which is hilarious considering the video. So with that light blue, you can imagine the sky, maybe the Mediterranean Sea, and there's that real calmness. Now, if you've got someone who is afraid of passing over but yet is just clinging on to life and that's out of fear, and they're wanting to let go but, sort of not quite, you can actually put that light blue energy into the room in your mind and just transmit that energy, and that will bring them peace. Now, that can either, help them go or stay, but it can be calming. It can help release fear around that passing. So if they're meant to pass, they can pass more peacefully, but it's also not about making the decision for them, of course. That's not going to do that. But certainly in my case, when my grandfather was his last night on earth, it was interesting because he was in a particular hospital, and he'd, unbeknownst to me at the time, he'd told the doctors that his granddaughter, this one, had made a curse on him, that he was going to die in this cold room that was exactly as I described that he was now in. And it actually had a small window way up with bars on it, and the colour of the room and, everything in it was what I described when I was 7 years old. And sorry, Grandpa. And I was 24, and it was that time. And so he told the doctor, my granddaughter cursed me. She described this room, and the curse is coming true. I'm going to die here tonight. I'm going to die here. And the the doctor said, well, how long ago was that curse made? And he said, well, it's got to be 2 decades, nearly 20 years ago. And the doctor said, well, can't be much of a curse then, because it's taken this long to, come out. So really, I wouldn't be worried. Of course, the doctor must have had a shock in the morning, but in any case, it wasn't a curse. What it was I had foreseen and told my grandpa when I was 7 years old, exactly the circumstances of when he would die. And it was in relation to him being a bit mean. And when I say a bit mean, I mean very mean to somebody. And it was kind of a warning that he would die alone and lonely in this cold room. And whoops. So, unbeknownst to me, I knew he was in hospital. I just hadn't seen the room. I hadn't managed to get there yet. And so here I was asleep, and all of a sudden I'm in this dream where my grandpa is standing in the kitchen, and he looks a lot younger and really happy and fit and healthy. And I'm looking at him going, what are we doing here, Grandpa? And he smiled and he said, well, it's time for you to teach me how to fly. And I went, what? No, I've got an exam in the morning. Wow, what a thing to say. I've got an exam in the morning, and I really can't stand the idea of not being able to see you before you go. And he says, well, I've got to go now, and I'd rather do this peacefully. And I said, no. No. I know what teaching you to fly means, so I'm not going to do it. I refuse. Now, come on. I really need you to do this, and you need to do this. And I said, all right then. And so take my hand. And he took my hand, and we went up through the ceiling, and we went up around the sky, and we flew around. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I didn't want to come down because I knew what coming down meant. It meant that he was going to go. And so we flew around, and he was like, woo! I remember how to do this now. And I'm like, that's good. Don't want to go down, though. I'm thinking I don't want to go down. I hadn't told him that. And he's going, now, it's time to come back down. And I'm like, no. He says, no. Okay. So we came back down to the ceiling. We're standing in the kitchen. I'm holding his hand. And he said, look over there. I don't know why I always managed to fall for that with him. He's always doing it to me. I always knew what he was doing, but then none. So I looked over there, and I went, look back, and cheeky. All I could see was his Cheshire grin. He goes, cheer up, kid, and then gone. And I woke up, tears streaming out of my eyes, 3:30 in the morning, and I thought, nah, can't be real. if you're speaking from the heart, bringing the heart chakra and chakra together, and so before I'm doing any media interviews, I'll actually channel energies and come back into my ancestors, connect with the ancestors and spirits of this land, and give a acknowledgement to the traditional owners of the land which I am operating at the given time that I'm working, in respect. And when you speak from the heart, when you speak from that balanced perspective, then it's amazing. That can clear the energy for you, but it also can bring up any obstacles or any blocks for clearing. So it can just be that energy needs until it runs clear. So working on things like if you're wanting to work on a chakra and wanting to work on that psychically, working on that maybe more automatic writing first can help open you up, but also an exercise that's often done in psychic development is actually to actually usually stand and to chant words that are coming through you. And so often when you see students first starting to speak and automatically those words out, through their being, verbally, then you'll find that at first it can be saying what seems to them like the most thing, and then all of a sudden they switch gear. Out comes the real wisdom, the truth pouring through them. So that chakra can be really quite interesting to take on. Certain exercises that we do in yogic practices, bringing the energy up to the and then connecting on another level again before you get up to the third eye and all that sort of thing. So, if you think of the throat also being blue, I would kind of equate air as an element, but it's kind of a tricky one because you do have the element of water in a sense. Sometimes when people's emotions get blocked up, that throat chakra will get blocked up, and so it can sort of be a bit transient on what element that is, but it's really down, I guess, to your feeling on the elements with that and how you relate to them, and making your own kind of sense of that as you go along. But certainly that's how I would relate to it. So the more you work on clearing that, the better. But if you're looking at doing automatic writing, once again, that's where some people will just not realise they're doing channeled writing. And you look at musicians and songwriters, that you can't get more automatic writing than that sometimes, because they're quite inspired energy or one thought, and then suddenly, boom, in comes this other energy, and there's this brand new song or musical piece. And so that's in a way, very much channeled, very much inspired, very much intuitive, a form of communication. And communicating a message of the times is what a lot of musicians will do, maybe not even realising some of them, sometimes with some pieces, that a particular music piece will take off so well and be an anthem for a decade or a movement. So, that throat chakra, each chakra has both strengths and challenges and things to offer the world. Often if you're seeing turquoise in the aura, it can either be a sense of mental and emotional and spiritual balance, or it can be a complete lack of that. So when you're seeing blue in the aura, it can be a lot of peace, or it can be, once again, a complete lack of that. Sometimes it could be that sense of being an authority or really disliking authority. Empathic people, I find, like empaths, tend to have a lot of that really cobalt blue energy in their aura, as well as other, particularly magenta, you'll see, you may see a bit of gold. It can vary depending on what's going on for them at the time. And because empaths are like walking sponges, it depends on who's taking the photo of the aura, and a particular situation I had one time, an aura photographer was taking a photo of my aura, and someone walked by just as she clicked the camera, and she's going, oh boy, and she had to take another photo. And then she took that photo again, she goes, oh dear. And so finally she says, could everyone just not walk past? And then she finally took the last photo of me. And these are all in the space of about a minute and a half, each photo. And the last one, she says, now that's you. And so the first one was orange. The second one was kind of olive green. And the first one was orange, had a lot of magenta. And the third one actually was more the purples and the blues and the magenta and, all these sort of colours going on that was relevant at the time for what was happening in my life at that point in time. And she says, so this is when this lady walked past who really likes you and wants to do something creative with you, and she's a bit burnt out right now, a bit frustrated with other people, but she loves you because there was the oranges and the magenta and a bit of a pink overlay. And so washed straight through the aura. And then this other person walked past with an interesting attitude, and that was, the olive greens and a bit of mustard yellow. Mm. We'll talk about mustard another day. You just have to imagine mustard, don't you? I mean, it looks great, tastes great, but what does that remind you of? I'm thinking of calves and possibly babies, but let's not talk about that. You can let your mind do the walking. And the last one was actually my aura colours, which, was what I was going on at the time, and because I do a lot of work spiritually and a lot of work with all of the senses, that's why that sort of colour came up. So I've talked a lot about more the throat chakra today and sort of focus there. And I thought I'd get through all the chakras today, but, so we'll cover the rest of them next time. But, I just wanted to give you a bit more understanding of what those will look like and some of the experiences you can have with them. So it's just an indication for you to be able to use and learn from. So I hope that's given you a little bit of insight today. And I will get back to taking live callers in future shows, absolutely. I just wanted to focus on the chakras for a little while, give you a bit more of the educational side, because sometimes I just do reading, and then sometimes like, bit of information sharing time. So that's what I wanted to focus on, just for a little while and get on back to the other stuff later on. So in the meantime, I'm going to wish you all love and light and catch you next week. Bye.